Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1590.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I'm revved up and so excited to share with you today a very special guest by the name of Frank Mecum. Frank Mecum is the Consignment Director at Mecum Auctions. No doubt you've heard of Mecum Auctions. He also manages their consignment of over 15,000, that's right, 15,000 automobiles annually. His father, Dana Mecum, established Mecum Auctions when Frank was just 6 years old. But he's been slapping sold stickers on cars since he was 8 years old, and by the time he graduated from high school, Frank was in full swing and worked as a bidder restoration department in that department. And by 2003, he was on the auction floor selling vehicles where you see him today. This father-son team, along with their many talented associates, strive to get deals done while ensuring both the buyer and the seller always walk away very satisfied. We'll be back to talk with Frank in a minute. But first, a word from our valued sponsors that make this show possible. So sit tight, hang on to your bidder card, because we're going to have some fun today. We'll be right back. When it comes to your vehicles, things can get a little messy. Rain, snow, salt, mud, dirt, and everything Mother Nature comes up with can hurt the finish of your vehicles, both inside and out, like that bird on the branch up above your car. I'm not worried, though, because I've used Covercraft products on my ride since 1975. That's right, since 1975. Today, Covercraft offers you a total solution for vehicle protection. They make the best fitting, finest made car covers in the world and offer a wide variety of materials, colors, and options that protect your paint and the interior, whether your car is inside or outside. Plus, they keep your car cool when it's parked in the sun. Live where it's really sunny all the time? Lucky. Covercraft covers and sunscreens are the best. If you've got pets, messy kids, messy in-laws, just plain messy friends, Covercraft seat covers are the perfect fit and perfect solution for keeping your seats looking new. They're easy on, easy off, and they're easy to wash too. And don't forget Covercraft's custom fit floor mats and trunk liners. Plus, they're very handy seat back organizers. They are must-haves for all your vehicles. Your car, your truck, your van, or whatever you drive will say thank you. And I've got a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH120, that's YEAH120, at covercraft.com, you can get 10% off your Covercraft order. Just go to covercraft.com, check out all the products they have to protect your vehicles, use the code YEAH120 at checkout, and get that 10% discount. That's covercraft.com and use YEAH120 at checkout. Covercraft, they've got you covered. The fourth annual Saratoga Motor Car Auction will take place on Friday, September 18th and Saturday, September 19th. It will be held at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center in the beautiful Saratoga Spa State Park, located in upstate New York. Presented by the Saratoga Automobile Museum, a not-for-profit institution, this live event continues to be the premier collector car auction for the northeastern United States. Proceeds from the auctions help support the museum's educational programs and exhibits that engage, educate, and inspire the automotive community. To consign your vehicle, view current inventory, and register to bid, visit SaratogaMotorCarAuctions.org. There you can learn how finance partner JJ Best Bank and insurer partner Hagerty can help put you in your dream vehicle. That's SaratogaMotorCarAuctions.org. So what do you do after running a race team for 27 years with over 100 podiums, multiple Daytona wins, and a win at Le Mans? Well, if you're a racer and the Racers Group team owner Kevin Buckler, you found Adobe Road Winery. Located in Petaluma, California, he and his team have created a winning combination with the Racing Series, 4 ultra-premium red wine blends that are in a class of their own. Like racing, these wines comprise of art, precision engineering science, all wrapped in a whole lot of fun. You can choose from 4 blends titled Redline, Apex, Shift, and the 24. Today I'm going to talk about the 24. This wine earned 91 plus points from Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. It's a dark, spicy, and velvety blend with ripe blue and black fruits and very smooth tannins. The label features a 3-dimensional full metal chronograph in a bright gold finish that pays homage to the Daytona Rolex winners receive at Le Mans. The racing series is a fantastic gift for the ultimate enthusiast in your life. And I've got a deal for you today. If you use the code CARS, all one word, all in caps, when you're at the Adobe Road Winery.com checkout, you get $10 off any purchase of wines from the racing series. Your wine ships promptly and arrives quickly right at your door. Use the code CARS at checkout to get $10 off your purchase of the racing series today. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the racing series. Go to Adobe Road Wines today and use the code CARS at checkout. Cheers! Hey Frank, welcome to Cars Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Let's get on the gas.
All right, here we go. Before we get started, though, I always ask all my guests this question. What's one little thing that most people don't know about Frank Mecum?
Well, Mark, people see me on the auction block and they see the excitement that I get and the how wound up I get on the block and how much fun I have. But really, in my personal life, I'm really just a quiet, shy person, and I have been since I was a little kid.
Well, you definitely have learned to hide that well, because when I watch you guys, oh my gosh, you guys are fired up. I mean, you make everything so exciting. Now, I know that's part of the job, but let me ask you this, because I was rather shy growing up, so I wasn't always out there in the forefront. I had all these other people that were, and I say, man, I wish I could be like them. What do you do to get yourself so excited and fired up when you guys have an actual auction?
It's really just loving being there. I've always told people this. I have the greatest job in the world. I get to be around some of the best cars in the world and be around some of the best people in the world. We meet so many different people and all the different stories. The one thing that we always joke about around here is we start talking about something that happened and it's always, that's definitely going to end up as a chapter in the book when it's all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just love what we do. We're car people. We practice what we preach.
Well, that's the secret to success in life, I believe. And after talking with, you're my 1,590th guest here, I've learned a few things by listening to my inspiring automotive enthusiasts. And the key thing I've learned is, do what you love. And then it will be very exciting. You'll be very enthusiastic, even in those challenging times, which we all have. And we're going to talk about that a little later in our talk today. But love what you do. And boy, have you been fortunate. And it's great that you love cars so much, because sometimes kids are born into families where, I don't want to do what dad does. I'm going to do something different. But it sounds like you've been a car guy for a long time. Let's start this journey, though, with a success quote or a mantra, some kind of saying that's been instrumental in your life. I always say it's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars So Frank, grab the wheel.
Well, it's something that we pride ourselves in here at Mecum. It's don't be scared to be different. Don't be scared to try something new. I love the conversations that start with the idea that everybody goes, oh my God. And then the brains just start churning and we just start talking and the idea becomes reality. That's the way we run our business, and that's the way we've always been.
So let me ask you to expand on that a little bit. When you think about car auctions, there are different kinds of car auctions around. We've seen some on television, we've been to some, and they all have a little different flair and a different feel. So how would you describe to maybe somebody that hasn't had the pleasure of being at one of your auctions? I've been at your auctions live. I've seen you on TV. I know how you roll. But for somebody that doesn't, what makes Mecum different, either a little different or a lot different than maybe just say other auctions we see out there?
We've always prided ourselves in having something for everybody. We always say that, you can come to a Mecum auction and you can buy a $15,000 entry-level collectible, or you can buy that 7-figure $1 million car that everybody dreams of.
Well, I love that because if you think of some auctions, they're either more highbrow or some that are lease car auctions, let's say, where you just go and buy standard cars. But that's one of the things I love about you guys. Yeah, it's all across the board. So there's something for everybody. And I'll tell you one way that I think you guys are a little different. You create an electric atmosphere. I mean, I see all your folks there working so hard, you, your father, everybody else on your team, and they're so jacked up, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean it in a good way. They're just so excited, and it just gets everybody excited, everybody happy to be there, and of course, all of us car people love being around cool cars. So let's talk a little bit more about Mecum Auctions. Now, this year, no doubt, oh my gosh, did you ever think you'd live to see a year like this one?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's just unprecedented. Let me ask you this first before we get into more details about your business. How has the pandemic affected you guys? It's obvious we can't all be together right now and enjoy this, but how has it affected you? And then what have you done about it?
Well, it's like everything. No one really seen this coming, and going from having auctions every month to not knowing when the next time you're going to be able to come out of your house again. The one thing I told my wife was, this is the most time I've spent in one bed since I was 20 years old.
Well, that's saying something for a guy that's out selling cars every month. Now, for most marriages, that would be a very bad thing. But I think your wife probably knew the family she was marrying into. You guys are always on the go. That's hilarious.
Yep. But we've been able to stay calm, not react to every little thing, because that's the big problem right now, that every day there's something new. We're gearing up. We're gearing up again now. The handcuffs start to come off to being able to provide live auctions again. They're going to be different than for a while, but we're going to make sure that we're keeping our customers safe, but we're coming back, and we're going to be coming back live. That's the one thing we're looking forward to, and getting back with our customers who, over the years have become part of our family, talking to those people every day and hearing their excitement that next month we're going to be live in Indianapolis again.
Well, that's good news. Now, I have to ask you this, with everybody these days when they're out having to wear a mask, how are we going to hear what the auctioneer is saying if he's going, I don't mean to make fun of it because it's not funny at all, but some of these venues where you have to wear a mask and you can't communicate very well. So obviously, it's by separating people, moving people apart and so forth. But at this next venue, the first live when you're coming back, will people actually be able to be there as bidders?
Yes, we're going to have live crowds. We're taking precautions to limit the exposure to people, making sure that people are spread out, making sure cars are spread out. Being able to do temperature checks at the door when people come in, making masks available to people that need them, just making sure that everybody's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have to do it. It's mandated by the government. And if you want to play the game, you got to play by the rules. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting back. What kinds of cars and events do you have planned for the rest of this year? You have this one coming up, but what are some other things we can look forward to seeing from Mecum? I mean, you guys do basically a show every month. Is that right?
Yeah, we're getting ready to get our schedule back going. We have some events that we're still having to shuffle, but we added another event this year in Kissimmee, Florida, at the Osceola Heritage Park, where we hold our annual January sale of 3,500 cars. We're going to have a 3-day sale there in Kissimmee as they're opening up and going to be allowing live events. We'll be in Dallas, Texas in September. September 9th. We'll be in Las Vegas in November, and we've moved our Houston auction from April to December. So we're planning on getting back on track and getting going again.
Well, this is exciting. Is your wife ready to see you leave, or is she sorry to see you leave? Or should I not ask that question?
She's ready for me to be back out of the house.
Yeah, probably so. I understand. My wife's been off work for some time as well. I work from home, but now it's reversed. So she's here. So she's actually put a door in between me and her. So I guess that's whatever works in a marriage is a good thing. Well, let me ask you this, Frank. Obviously, with all the things that have happened this last year, I mean, we were rocking and rolling up until February, March. The economy was just on fire. People were happy. The jobs were great. The unemployment was low. Everything was rolling. And the future for the used car market, or a collector car market, let's say, was really looking great. That's kind of changed now. So where do you see things going for the second half of this year? If you, whatever that crystal ball you have, a lot of them are a little bit hazy and fuzzy, but where do you see things going with different kinds of cars in the market? If you talk about the lower end collectible cars and you get into maybe hot rods, you get into European sports cars, you get to high end kind of cars, how are you feeling, or what are you thinking about where the collector car market specifically is going the rest of the year?
Well, I foresee our first couple auctions out of the gate being very successful and barn burners. People being cooped up and are wanting to get back out and wanting to do things. So that's going to cause the initial market to be great. But for the long term of the market, you talk to a lot of people. I talk to people every day, and when we started going into this thing, the guys that do this for a living were scared.
Yeah.
But as they went through it, the pedal never lifted for them.
Yeah.
That's the constant conversation I have, that they did better than they normally do during this time. So it just shows that people are still out there and people are still wanting to be part of this community. Our community's tight-knit, and we think it's bigger than it is, but we're all in this together, and it seems like everybody's ready to continue on.
Well, one of the things I noticed, and I'm quite a bit older than you, but I've been in the car industry for a long time, and I know back in 08, 09, when we had a very bad economic recession, that the car industry, now new cars didn't do well, people were afraid, but the collector car industry and that hobby stayed strong, and that's because people don't give up on what they're passionate about. They always say during recessionary periods, flowers do well, alcohol does well for obvious reasons, but the collector car industry seems to survive because we retreat to our garage, we enjoy our cars. Maybe it's not a good time to sell them because the market might be a little low, or maybe you have to sell them in a distress sale, and somebody looking for a car can pick up a pretty good deal. So everybody's happy in that respect. So if I was to ask you this, is there a segment of the collector car hobby that you see that perhaps this year is a little bit stronger than maybe it should be for some reason?
The ones that come to mind, it's not really because of this year it's just them coming into their own. You see that Bronco market, that truck market, that's over the last 2 years has really just went crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, 10 years ago, if you would have told somebody that Broncos are going to be selling for $200,000, no one would have believed you. The market's still following itself. There's always new trends, and it's what people get into now, and 5 years from now, it's going to be something completely different.
Yes, I saw where we're recording the show about 3 weeks out of when it actually airs, and I saw Ford is releasing their new kind of retro Bronco to the market. Of course, they chose O.J. Simpson's birthday to do it. I think somebody was not paying attention to the calendar on that one. If you go back in time, those younger listeners are going, "What's he talking about?" But just Google it and you'll figure it out. But let me ask you this. What about the younger collector market, younger people, millennials, XYs, coming into the collector car hobby that are interested in cars of the 80s and the 90s? Is that another segment that you're seeing in your auction expertise as an uptick?
Oh, for sure. You're seeing, the best example is Fox Body Mustangs.
Yeah.
Those cars have just continually went up. The late 80s, early 90s Camaros, you're seeing the same thing with them. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a lot of those cars, trucks from that era too. So we're seeing more and more that, my generation is still coming into the hobby, where people say that the hobby's going to die because the people from that area are going away. It's the reason for buying the cars is going to change, but people are still into cars, and you're seeing them then coming into it more and more. The age group that buys cars and is in our hobby is going to stay the same, because that's when people start coming into money. People start being successful in their late 30s, early 40s, and then having that disposable income.
You talk about
Yep.
Broncos selling for 200,000. I mean, who'd have thought that VW vans would be selling for 150 to 200,000 either? I mean, come on. Have you ever driven one of those things? They look cool, but man, they can't get out of their own way. But oh well, you can always toss the 911 engine in the back and have a little bit of fun. Well, listen, Frank, let's talk about some of the roads you've been down. Talk about a big challenge you've faced in your life, something that really maybe set you back a little bit. But more importantly, as you take us through that journey, what was the lesson learned? How did you come out of that in a positive way so that you could move forward?
Well, I think we just touched on it a little bit. It's the current environment.
Yeah.
It's the pandemic that we just went through and going into a time where to just completely lock the brakes up on the company. And, going into it early, talking to our employees, making sure that they were okay and letting them know that we plan on still being here and being able to, and this is the thing that we've always been the best at, is being able to adapt on the fly and change directions, which, we're having to do it daily now instead of over years. When you're faced with a challenge, what I tell people all the time, leaders lead. So just got to keep pushing forward. You can't get down. You can't get depressed. And you walk forward. That's the only way you get through the troubling times.
It's been very fascinating to me as I've talked to so many people. I do 5 shows a week here. I've done it for 6 years. All the different innovative ways people have adapted to this. One thing I know is, as those of us who are car guys, we always figure out how to make the thing run, right? There's some way to make that thing run. Baling wire, duct tape, vice grips, a hammer, whatever you need.
Whatever you got, whatever you need, you just do it.
Yeah, and look deeper into your toolbox. You might need some things that you've never used before. But I think the other thing here that I've learned talking to you and other people is you need to be prepared and ready. That means financially ready. Don't leverage yourself too much into debt, and you just never know what might be coming along. So this is something you can tell your grandkids someday, Frank. You should have been around during the big pandemic. Oh, man, I'll tell you. And they'll roll your eyes just like, your dad tells you stories when you were a little kid too. Let's take a short break and thank our sponsors here for a moment that make this show possible. We'll be right back because I want to learn more about your personal passion that you have for cars, Frank. So sit tight, keep the seatbelt on, keep the bidders paddle up because you never know what's going to cross the auction block next. Lots of opportunities. So we'll be right back. Let's take a pit stop from the conversation and talk about my charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through auto-related events, car shows, and drives. One of those nonprofits is very near and dear to my heart because it's right down the road from the Cars Yeah headquarters. It's the LeMay America's Car Museum in Tacoma, Washington. One of the world's truly great automobile collections and one of those must-see bucket list destinations for car people like you and me. If you haven't seen it, I hope you'll make a trip soon. And if you have seen it, it's probably time to visit again. To learn more about this fantastic museum, go to www.americascarmuseum.org, and while you're there, you can donate to help them keep their engines running. That's www.americascarmuseum.org. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for enthusiasts and collectors. It's your monthly must-read, whether you dream of owning a collector car, maybe you have 2, or maybe you've got 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. And don't miss my weekly podcast with Keith Martin titled Buy, Sell, Hold. It's the essence of collecting. We talk to the movers and shakers in the collector car world. Here's a couple deals I have for you just for listening here on Cars Yeah. If you use the checkout code Cars Yeah, you'll receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription at Sports Car Market. That's an exclusive offer from Cars Yeah. And guess what? Here's another deal. If you'd like to get the actual magazine, use the code BSH for Buy, Sell, Hold. That's code BSH, and you'll get $10 off your annual print subscription. That's right, $10 off. Both of these are exclusive offers here at Cars Yeah for Sports Car Market Magazine. Just go to sportscarmarket.com and get your deals today. All right, we are back. Now, Frank, tell me, growing up in a family like yours, I mean, you're almost destined, you have to be a car guy, but is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew, you know what, this is the life for me?
Well, this is the story I always tell about how I really got the bug, got the addiction. You know, I grew up and I was always around the auctions and I would sit up on the auction blocks between the auctioneers. But we were at our auction in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was with my grandfather. And my grandfather was always in the car business with car dealerships. And so we were sitting there watching the cars, and he looks down to me. He goes, "We're going to buy this car," a little 64.5 Mustang that had come up on the block, red, pony interior, automatic. So he let me bid on the car.
Now, how old were you again?
At the time, I was 13.
13? Oh, what fun. Okay.
So, and at the time, you know, the car was $6,500.
Okay.
So not a lot of money. And the next day after the auction, we were getting ready to get the car on a truck to get it home. And a couple approached us and started talking with us about the car. And I told them it was my first car and didn't know what I was going to do with it. And they said, "Well, we kind of like it. Would you sell it?" Okay. So I looked up to my grandpa, and with my grandfather, there was no special car. Every car was for sale. So he started nodding yes, and they asked me what I'd want for it. So, you know, we'd given $6,500. So I told them that I wanted $7,000.
Okay.
And they said yes. So I made $500, and I thought I was the richest kid in the world.
Boom!
But that was what got me, and I was hooked ever since.
Well, I would think so. I mean, there's not too many people that can say they've bought a car and sold it for more than they paid for it. I've been really lucky with my collectible cars because every one of them I've made money on, not by plan, by sheer luck. But that's pretty cool for a 13-year-old. So I can see how the hook got set there. Oh, there's something I can do here. Okay, this is kind of cool. So, but you know, the other thing I've heard, and let me ask you this question. If you're going to buy a collector car and you're not a dealer, you're not in the business, is that really a good way in your mind to buy a collector car? Thinking you're going to flip it and make money on it?
If you're going to do that, you have to make sure you still stick to buying stuff that you like. If you buy something that you like and you love, you will always be successful. That's what I tell people all the time, to make sure that, you know, even if you're trying to do this as an investment, don't buy a car for price. Buy a car because you want it and you like it. In the end, you'll still be able to, those are the cars that will advance and you will be successful with.
Yeah, you know, that's been my practice. I bought cars that I really loved and cars that were very special at the time they were built, maybe limited editions or unique cars or whatever. And I've always done really well with them. And again, it wasn't by plan. I wasn't thinking that when I got the car. I just thought, that's a really cool car. I always liked those back when I was young, and they've always served me well. So I've been blessed and fortunate in that sense in many ways. Well, I always ask my guests for their first very special vehicle. You've told us about that first car you flipped, let's call it that. Was there another vehicle that was somewhat of a first for you that really had great meaning? Maybe it's a car you kept for a little longer than 10 minutes.
That is the car. That is the car that got me started, and that's the car that I always remember and I always think back about. Is that car the one that, even though I only owned it for 10 minutes, it's the one that got me started.
Well, no doubt. Now, I have to ask you this. Did you ever get yourself another Mustang?
I've owned a lot of cars over the years. So I've had more Mustangs, Corvettes. I love them all. Uh-huh. But more than that, I love the hunt. I love looking for the next car and staying staying active, trying to always advance and always find something different and just staying active in the hobby.
Yeah, that's the fun part. I had a 66 Fastback that was actually a Shelby GT350 tribute car or clone, whichever you want to call it. A friend of mine built it. It was a really great car. I love that car. I mean, when you drive a Mustang, it's like driving a VW Bug. Everybody loves you, right?
That's the car that's transformed time. It just always stays current.
Yeah, they're great fun cars. Very cool. Well, here's a bit of an introspective question for you, Frank. I'm going to crawl into your head, be a little bit of a psychoanalyst here. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself as a vehicle, manifest as a vehicle, what would Frank Mecum be and why?
I would perceive myself as a truck, always moving forward, always never quitting. That's the way I would perceive myself.
let's dig a little deeper here. Let's start with a mark. What kind of truck would you be? Are you Ford, Chevy? I don't think you've had it all, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. But is there one in particular that kind of stands out for you?
I think when you're talking about the blue collar attitude and the work ethic and moving forward, I would go with Dodge.
Dodge. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. So let's dig a little deeper now and talk about era. Like what, 50s, 60s, 70s?
I would look at the 60s, 70s trucks. Those are the trucks that I draw to.
All right. We'll call you a 1965 Dodge pickup. How's that sound?
That sounds great to me.
Something like that. I like it. I've had a lot of trucks on this show, and I love that answer because trucks they're American. They've been around. They're just a workhorse. They just work all the time, but they get us where we want to go. So nicely done. Well, we're going to enter what I call the last lap, a bit of a lightning round here, Frank, and I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some quick blips of that Dodge truck throttle. So here we go. What's one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes in business?
Always staying positive, never getting down. That's the key. You can't be negative. That's negative thoughts multiply. You got to stay positive even in the tough times. Always move forward.
Yeah, let me ask you, this is important because right now we're going through some pretty challenging times in our country. What are some of the techniques or ways that you stay positive?
Just stay active, keep working. Always try to better yourself. That's the only way you can do it. You can't look at the negative things. Find the best thing. You take something that went wrong and you make it work for you. That's the way you move forward.
There's a great old saying that idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I really find that to be true. You said it yourself. Stay busy. Find things to do. Don't sit around. Be active. One of the things I've heard from many guests is find a way to help other people. It makes you feel really good. And of course, be grateful for the things that you have, even if it's just a few things. How about if I could arrange for you to sit down and have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased? Who would that individual be and why?
I would pick my grandfather.
Okay.
He passed away 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was in the car business for over 60 years.
Wow.
I learned all my habits, all my work ethic, being around him, going to work with him when I was a little kid. That would be the person I would pick to sit down and have dinner with again.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Well, my condolences for losing your grandfather. You're very lucky, because a lot of people, including me, I didn't get to be around my grandparents very much. They lived far, far away. We didn't have the kind of social media and phones and things we have nowadays. I wish I could have spent more time with him to learn some more things. He was a farmer in Texas, incredibly hardworking guy. He was a true cowboy, rode a horse up until the day before he passed away. Kind of larger than life figure for me. I wish I could have known him better. How about the best automotive advice you've ever received from somebody else? Now, this could be caring for cars, or it could be something to do with buying cars, since that's what you do, buy and sell cars. So what was that advice that someone else gave you?
The best advice I ever got that was about the car business was never worry about the other guy's wallet. If a guy's making a lot of money on a car that you're buying, don't worry about it, because you're paying the price that you should pay. Don't worry about things that you shouldn't have to worry about. Always worry about yourself.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, don't get your axle tied up in a knot over that. Just decide what your price should be. I was kind of hoping the advice you'd give me is what I've heard when I've been to auctions is determine your price and don't go past it. Don't get caught up in the enthusiasm, but I'm guessing maybe that's not a good idea if I was in the auction business. But I understand. How about a great resource for our listeners that you enjoy, a go-to for you?
The go-to for me is when I'm researching cars is actually our own website. With the amount of cars we're running 15,000 cars a year. Our database for research is always the go-to for me. It's where I can find everything. And that's a little, maybe just because I know, that's the thing I know the most, but that's my go-to.
So tell our listeners a little bit more about that website. What are the things they can expect to see there?
Mecum.com. It's a very simple website. Always loved our design, being able to just navigate through, seeing the upcoming auctions and what we have upcoming, but also being able to go back and seeing the past results, which is especially help for people looking to sell cars that aren't completely up to date on the market, being able to go back and look at what 70 Chevelles have been bringing over the last year.
Well, I would encourage our listeners to spend some time at Mecum.com. And by the way, if you're going to go there, pour yourself a very tall drink because you're going to be there for a while. I mean, it's just, you just keep finding more and more and more and more. And all of a sudden you look up at your wife saying, aren't you coming to bed? Well, I'm on the Mecum.com site, honey. I'll be there a little bit longer. But there's such a great resource there of history is what I like most about it. It's just what have people paid? And we all kind of want to know what the market's doing at any given time. So I'm glad very appreciative, I should say, for what you guys have done. All right, Frank, we're up to the checkered flag, and this last question can be a bit of a doozy. I have a feeling this, might not be a challenge for you. People kind of trick me with this one. I'm going to buy you a collector car today. I'm going to go to any auction in the world or any garage. I'm going to bid on a car, and I'm going to win it for you, and I'm going to park it in your garage. However, there are a couple rules to my game since I'm buying you a car today. One is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other cars with. This has got to be a keeper. It needs to tick a lot of boxes. So I don't want any garage queens or dust collectors in your garage. I want you to enjoy it. Take the family out. Maybe it's just for you, whatever it might be. But here's the hard part of this question, Frank. It's the only one cool collector car that can be parked in your garage. So choose wisely, my friend. What can I bid on for you today?
Well, that's really an easy question. We have a lot of cars, and like I said before, we practice what we preach, and we love the hobby, and we keep our own cars. But the car that I would want is a car that my dad owns, and has owned for 10 years. But it was a car. Actually, now it's probably closer to 15 years.
Wow.
But it's a car that he chased his whole life, and just always just missed it. And it's a 69 Shelby GT 500 convertible. It's a car that we all drive. Our family all drives it. I drive it. My brothers drive it. We all take our kids out in it. It's just, there's a lot of cars that don't get used, that sit more, but that car is always getting used. I took it last week to my kids' end of school parade.
Oh, nice.
So it's just something that that's the car that would be the one car I would want to buy and keep.
Oh, man. Well, I guess it's in the family, so one day it may be yours. Otherwise, I'm going to have to buy it from your dad and give it to you. I think it's going to be a little pricey because he probably won't want to let that thing go. What color is that, Shelby?
It is orange.
Oh, I like orange cars. I've got an orange car, so
Yep.
yeah, very cool. I like it. Well, wonderful cars. Definitely a nice car to have parked in your garage and being part of the family and a car your dad chased. What a special ride for you guys for sure. And I'm so glad you can enjoy that and he shares it with you. That's pretty darn special. You've taken us on a fun ride today, Frank. I really appreciate you spending some time with me. Before I let you go, though, is there a little piece of guidance or wisdom you might offer our listeners when it comes to going to an auction before you drive that Shelby off into the sunset?
Make sure it's something you want. Make sure you take the time to look the car over and make sure it's something you want. The one thing that I tell people all the time, that collector cars don't drive like the everyday car that you drive today. It's not a new car. So to go in there with that expectation, you could come out with a sour taste in your mouth. But to know what you're buying is the most important thing going in.
Do your homework. Great advice. And again, what's the best way for our listeners to follow along with Mecum Auctions?
The best way to do it is Mecum.com. Go on there, check everything out, or watch an auction on NBC Sports, or better yet, come see us at a live event. That's the best experience, is seeing us live.
Absolutely. There is nothing like being at a live auction. I'll tell you something, Frank. My wife's never really been much into cars, but when I took her to her first auction, and my daughter for that matter, I was getting kind of tired. It had been a long day, and they didn't want to leave. They had the best time. So, take a friend, take a little kid, take somebody to an auction, enjoy it. Better yet, take them to a Mecum auction, and you're guaranteed to have a lot of fun. Of course, you can go to their website. You can follow them. They are on TV all the time. You're going to have a nice time for sure. Listeners, everything that Frank shared with us today is on his Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Frank Mecum, Mecum, and you'll find everything right there. Frank, thanks for spending some time with us today. Congratulations on the new upcoming Back to Live auctions. I know you guys are going to kick it. You're going to have a great time. Thanks for sharing your life and your experiences with us. Here's to your good health, your family's good health. And until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on. It was a great time, and we look forward to having you at the next auction.
Absolutely. I'll see you there. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.